And thank you again for everyone that's joining us. As I stated before, this month is in Ujima Wednesdays. We're studying artist political power with a thematically curated series of workshops and discussions centered on the importance of artists creating systems and infrastructure for caring cultural economies. Today, we're going to be exploring the role of unions in building power, political power of freelancers. And so I'm going to introduce our speakers tonight. The first one being Ajoke Williams, who is the program manager for the Freelancers Cooperative Initiative of the United States Federal Worker Co-op. I always mess this up.
Federation of Worker Cooperatives.
Federation of Worker Cooperatives. Thank you so much. And she joins the team with skills in tech development, fundraising, communications, project management, and consulting for artists and activist organizations. Originally from New Orleans, she has lived in several cities throughout the US, and now resides in Silver Springs, Maryland. She is passionate about bridging the promise of cooperative business with the urgent social needs of Black and Brown people. And she serves on the board Appeals Credit Union, and is the founder of Social Conscience PBC, a lending and tech consulting firm. Our second speaker is Rafael Espinal, who is the executive director of the Freelancers Union. Born and raised in Brooklyn, Rafael became New York's youngest elected official when he joined the state assembly at 26. The son of Dominican immigrants who were union members as well as freelancers, Rafael quickly became a leader fighting on behalf of workers, small businesses, artists, low-income communities, and the environment. As the third ever leader of the Freelancers Union since its founding in 1995, Rafael is committed to engaging freelancers across the country, listening to their concerns, amplifying their voices in important policy debates, and continuing to strengthen and expand the movement that serves a broad spectrum of independent workers and helps them to thrive in a fast-changing economy. So first of all, welcome to you both. I'm going to pass it to you, Ajoke, to kick us off, and then maybe to Rafael to speak after.
Cool. Hi, everyone. Well, thanks for having me. I'll preface the presentation by saying when that bio was written and I didn't catch it, the program that I'm the program manager of, the Freelancers Cooperative Initiative, got named, and so we're named Gilded as a legal entity now. So yay for incorporation. And I'm pretty happy to be here with Rafael, because Rafael and I have talked about ways that Gilded and the Freelancers Union, some of our missions align in order to empower and support freelancers. So to kick us off, I will talk a little bit about what is Gilded. I cannot share so should I not be sharing slides? Should I just talk? I had a couple of slides. Sorry, I probably should have.
It's all good. You now have that ability.
Great, cool. Yay, thank you. Yeah, so before I get into Gilded, one quick question, just show of hands. How many of you guys know that legally freelancers aren't allowed to form or join unions? Legal unions. So not really. Okay, I mean, Rafael's gonna, go ahead.
I know that if you're undocumented and you have an IT number, and if you are a freelancer and self-employed, you're not allowed to do that, but I may be wrong.
Mm-hmm. No, it's true. So I'm not going to get fully into it, but there are lots of restrictions around what workers who aren't classified as employees can do in terms of advocating for their own behalf, organizing collectively to advocate for higher wages, even obtaining a set of benefits that ideally all workers would be able to get. And so these restrictions not only reduce the quality of life for freelancers, but also reduce the different formations that freelancers can configure themselves in, and also still be under the law and not be going against the grain of the law. So one of those entities that I'm happy to be a part of is a cooperative. So Gilded is a freelancer cooperative, which means that we're owned and governed by freelancers. And we are a business, but the cooperative ethos allows us to operate a little bit differently than what you would expect a typical business to, than how you would expect a typical business to operate. So as a business, our model is taking care of freelancers. We're not as concerned about the clients, even though they're important, but we know that there is an intrinsic power asymmetry between workers who have to go out and consistently contract their labor through various and bear various income instabilities, and then those people who are paying the laborers. So we provide contract creation, which means we help freelancers through our legal, through partnerships that we have with legal firms, make sure that their contracts have their best interest in mind, or include rates that would allow them to live, that are livable wages. In addition, include sections that ensure that they are not being misclassified as contractors when indeed they're employees. And additionally, because we as a corporation have support through our legal firm, we're able to offer something known as a guaranteed payment. So freelancers who process contracts through Gilded are given the guarantee that if their client is late or delinquent, Gilded fronts that payment. We also do invoicing and payment collection, and then through the fees that we make from these services, we're able to aggregate all of the funds and provide a suite of worker benefits. Those worker benefits include things like healthcare access. So we don't provide full healthcare yet, but of course, because a lot of plans that allow for group healthcare also have requirements that the people that you're providing it for be employees. And the issue is, what do you do with the segment of labor force which does not have W-2, which is like an employee status? They still need healthcare. It's not as if just because you're not full-time, you don't fall sick anymore. Although that would be awesome if there was a secret classification you could have where you were granted permanent and perennial health. So we provide healthcare access because we partner with local clinics, and they provide primary care. This is what Gilded would pay for if you were a user of the platform. And these partnerships include regular checkups and reduced prices for a particular list of pharmaceuticals, and that's very much clinic dependent. We've also added vision insurance, which you were getting through the Freelancers Union, and that is also something that Gilded pays from its pooled resources from our contract management and invoicing system. And those are some of the healthcare offerings that we give to our users and members. We give tax preparation as well. So if you are a contractor and you use our platform and you've processed a certain number of contracts through, we fully subsidize the cost of your state and federal tax. So the states are limited to certain states for now, but we plan to extend to all 50 states, and your federal tax. And we do this because not only do freelancers have to forecast their own income, manage their expenses, but then there's the added burden of being self-employed without the benefit of having what is traditionally known as the employer's tax. So if you're an employee, what happens is that you pay a percentage of tax and your employer is also paying a percentage of tax on your labor. All of that is passed on to the freelancers if you don't know which deductions to take. So Gilded steps in and we pair freelancers, our users and members, with CPAs, certified public accountants, so that you can go with them and prepare your taxes. And of course, hopefully get the best refund at the end of the year. And all of those services are provided by the fact that we do back-end invoicing. So we give contracts for sectors, we handle all the signings for each party, because the crux of a freelancer's relationship, especially those who do project-based work, is the contract. So that lays out the framework for what is legally acceptable, what are the terms, what are the protections that you're going to write in. And so we want to make sure that the contract is as secure and as beneficial to the freelancer as possible. So that contract that we help you guys write, or freelancers write, is what, and the payment collection And that overhead fee is what funds all of our benefits. So these are our business offerings to our users. And this ties in part to how artists can organize, because often the main issue around artists and advocacy and organizing is that you have artists who are advocating for better rights, but then also suffering with economic insecurity and trying to manage the fact that they have very immediate needs with the final goal where they want to be. And so Gilded provides this platform where, you don't have to start from a position of complete loss of utter poverty, for lack of a better phrasing of it, but you can have a platform where you have, to some degree, wrestled a little bit of the power away from your clients or from people who employ, who utilize a lot of contract labor, and then use that as a stepping stone for financial stability that would help you get into a better headspace for doing more in-depth organizing. Because of course, you can't ask people to organize from empty cups, whether that's financial emptiness, time emptiness because they're working so hard in order to make up for the lack of really low hourly rates or project rates. And the way that we're able as an entity to kind of leverage what the emerging needs of freelancers might be as they're using this platform to manage their day-to-day contracts and gigs is that as a cooperative, we make sure that the freelancers their mechanisms for which our users and our members eventually can give their input to the direction of into the corporation and the cooperative. So a full member of a cooperative is someone who has equity and governance power in the organization. So having equity means that you put a certain amount into the cooperative and the cooperative agrees, in Gilded's case, to share our net revenues with you. So as we continue to do better, we'll be able to take some of those profits or percentage of those profits and redistribute it to all of the members who bought equity. In addition, because you've bought equity and you've agreed to take on the challenge and the responsibility of overseeing parts of the governance of the cooperative, you're allowed to run for positions on the board. We have 2 positions for the board of directors that are reserved for freelance members, and you're allowed to serve on membership committees. And these committees are really the vehicle through which freelancers can start to advocate for certain policies, like national and state policies. So let's say a whole bunch of graphic artists that have been using the platform, and they're able to see in aggregate that there's a particular client that's always undercharging. That first Gilded becomes the platform through which that was possible, and then also the membership committees can become the platform, can become a space where that conversation could be had and strategies can be made as to how you want to tackle that issue. It's also helpful because Gilded provides a sort of cover, since it wouldn't just be artists. Gilded serves artists of all different sectors, so it wouldn't just be artists who are graphic designers that would weigh in that decision. So graphic designers could say, look, we realize that this is a problematic client, and then you have artists from different fields, theater, performance artists, writers saying, yeah, we think that it would make sense for the cooperative to release the statement or to take certain actions to show support or rebuke against this client. And those are some of the mechanisms by which the cooperative gives individual freelancers a pathway to start to have their voice heard in an organized format without the danger of perhaps running into the, I don't know what the phrasing is, running into possibly running into possible errors with the NRLB, so the National Relations Labor Board, which has really strict requirements around antitrust laws. So how can Gilded, that's what I'm kind of started talking about, like how can Gilded support artists organizing? So we're actually we're a corporation, but just because we're a corporation doesn't mean that we can't align with artists. So as a cooperative corporation, we have the cooperative is a mechanism by which the corporation can start to align with what artists need. So one of the things that we can provide is the structure for material well-being that provides freelancers the ability for strategic and long-term organizing and planning. Like I said, the business model is so that we're able to provide freelancers with expanded benefits. So not only financial stability, but also that social safety net that they would need. So those are things like healthcare and tax preparation. And we also provide a simultaneous bird eye and close-up view of the freelance economy by sector and location. This is something that Gilded is working on. As we get more and more members and users and process different contracts, we're able to see, who are the bad actors, what are the rates, how are clients taking advantage of ignorance, maybe a novice freelancer, a novice artist is coming in, how are clients pitting artists against each other behind the scenes without them knowing, and how do different economies within the art sectors look per location in addition to the national landscape? Because of course, a lot of issues that artists run into are that there aren't many vehicles that both have the financial space in order to support artists, can support them in their daily lives, and then also those pathways for them to come to get a better idea of what's going on in their economy locally and what's going on in the larger sector. And we also are able to direct resources based on our freelancer member input on political initiatives and efforts that we should support. And like I said, that's through the member committees that we will be organizing that will allow members to give their input as to what's important, what should we be focused on, how should Gilded be supporting efforts that are outside of just the corporation and the cooperative. So that is I don't know, hopefully I didn't take too much time, but yes, that is the end. I'm, like I said, I'm Gilded. I'm the program manager of Gilded. My name's Ajoke. If you're interested in learning more about Gilded, you can visit our site or you can email me. Our site's www.gilded.coop. And my email is ajoke@usworker.coop. The US Federation of Worker Cooperatives is incubating Gilded. And so I'm an employee of the Federation working on this project. I'll stop there. I didn't see your questions, so I will look at them if they are in the chat, but I am happy to answer any verbal questions that people want to. Yes, I can give you access to the slides.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you so much. I'm actually going to pass it to Rafael, and then we're going to do Q&A after. So please save your questions, write them in the chat.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to follow Ajoke. As she mentioned earlier, we do a lot of great work together on behalf of independent workers. I don't have any slides, and I thought that maybe I think the best thing everyone can do is to go on our website, freelancersunion.org. Which is pretty much where all of our information is, all of the work that we do is located, and all the resources that our members have access to exists. We are a nonprofit organization. As Ajoke mentioned earlier, freelancers do not have the legal right or authority to unionize. Back when the National Labor Relations Act was passed in 1935, there were rules around, which industries, which workers can come together, and independent contractors were left out of that group. I do think it's important to note that there currently is a movement now on the federal level to pass this bill called the PRO Act, which will finally include freelancers into that group of workers that will be able to unionize alongside traditional employees within the workplace. That is a bill that we're following closely as well and advocating on behalf of, because we do understand the importance of that. But the Freelancers Union was founded with the idea of bringing independent workers from across the country together in order to be able to better advocate for the rights of the independent workforce. We know that this is a very fractured workforce, and because of that, there is a lot of opportunity for clients and companies to exploit these workers, whether you're an artist or you're a designer working for a Fortune 500 company. I think there's a lot of issues that these both these classes can encounter. And what we're trying to do is bring everyone together to be able to advocate to expand those protections, whether it be workplace protections or looking to find ways to expand the social safety net. I mean, the pandemic has really highlighted the need for there to be a broader conversation of how do we expand the traditional employee protections that exist to ensure that when an independent worker is out of work, whether because they're sick or whether because there has been government mandated lockdowns, that there is a way in which they can have access to benefits like unemployment insurance. You know, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program was a program that did not exist before the pandemic. Before the pandemic, if you're someone who files 1099s and you don't have a traditional employee, you were not able to apply for unemployment insurance. You know, after the post-pandemic, that became a reality. So the union was founded initially through the creation of an insurance company. At the time where they were able to group independent workers and be able to get a lower rate on health insurance. But because of the Affordable Care Act that passed and the creation of this marketplace and the rules that were passed that did not allow for this grouping to happen for independent workers, that portion of our offerings were brought offline. And what we do now is we've done the work in curating all of the insurance products that exist out there in the market that we believe are being offered at the best rate, and also we believe has the best coverage for independent workers. So the hope is that our members will be able to come into our site, look at the health insurance options without having to spend too much time worrying about whether they're going to get the right coverage or whether they're choosing the right product, because we've done that work for you already. If you look at our insurance, we also offer dental, term life, disability, vision, and liability. On certain insurance products that we have there, we do have the ability to offer group offerings because those same health insurance rules don't exist in some of those products. So you would be able to get a much better deal getting those products through our website and grouping with the rest of our membership. I do want to stress that joining the union is free. There is no cost to you. So all you have to do is provide your name and your email and a zip code and a phone number so we can reach you. And you will have access to all of these resources that we currently have on our website. The resources I like to say look at and say we offer is really focused towards education. If you go under the resource tab, Freelance 101 is the most popular section we have. We have a lot of members, either up and coming freelancers who are starting out for the first time, who want to learn how to form an LLC, who want to learn how to file their taxes, who want to learn what kind of subsidies exist out there for health insurance coverage. We did all the work to put it all here. And if you're a freelancer who at some point down your journey, you've hit a roadblock, we also have information there that can help you with whatever that issue might be. Under the resources, we also have a client complaint form. One of the biggest issues we encounter from our membership, and when they email us, is that they haven't gotten paid for a project they've created, or they're running through some hurdles and chasing down some sort of payment, or having issues getting a contract. So our team internally, when our membership reaches out, we do our part, and in reaching out to those clients, we do our part in reaching out to legislators who might be able to help to ensure that we're giving that freelancer all the firepower they need to collect that payment. One of our biggest achievements has been in New York City has been the creation and the passage of the Freelancers and Free Act. It's a law that, again, is currently only exclusive to New York City, and we're currently doing work to expand it to other cities across the country and other states, in which the city of New York has to intervene and help a freelancer collect payment from a client that has not paid them. So in New York City, if you're a client and you do not pay a freelancer within 30 days, you're subject to a fine of $250. And if you do not pay, and if the client does not pay after that fine, and the freelancer decides to take a small claims court, and the freelancer wins that case, the freelancer is due double damages and attorney fees from that client. every freelancer in New York City has the right to a contract. And if a client does not agree to signing a contract, then the city can step in and fine that client for simply not offering a contract to a freelancer. It also protects the freelancer for any retribution if they decide to use the law in their favor. So again, this is a protection that exists in New York City. We are currently working in LA with the LA City Council and getting a similar bill passed. Where we're just plugging away and plugging along. So if in your city you feel it's something that makes sense and you want to take play a role in helping getting this passed, we're more than happy to work with you and learning the lay of the land of your local government and figuring out how we can get this done through the power of the freelancers within that city. We also have a contract creator that's available there for freelancers as well that they can use. We have discounts. We work with a lot of partners. There's a lot of products that exist that I think every freelancer relies on, whether it be Mood to get a business card, whether it be with Squarespace to get a website. We've built partnerships with them to be able to offer it to our membership at a much lower discount. And then we have a community space, and it's called. It's a group that meets every single month, and it's called Spark. We have these Spark groups in about 23 different cities. They're led by our members, and the curriculum that is spoken at these meetings are usually produced by the union so that our membership can have access to it. And it's really a place for people to come network. We've come in to co-work, come in and receive education on how they can up their freelancing career. They meet at the first Wednesday of every single month. So I encourage you to see if your city has a Spark group, and if it doesn't, again, we would be happy to work with someone to create a Spark group in your city. We also have a Freelancers Hub. It's a programming space where we offer free programming to our membership. So we cover topics from how to write a contract, how to file your taxes, to upskilling if you're someone who's in let's say graphic design, how to use the new graphic design software that's just out there. If you're a videographer, you probably want to learn how to do sound editing. So it's really a way to kind of provide a space in which we have instructors give education courses to help you upskill and have the tools you need to succeed. So that's really us. We've been around for 25 years, and we're in a place now where we're looking at how do we use the power of our membership to continue advocating and expanding the social safety net for all independent workers. As I mentioned earlier, there's a big conversation on the PRO Act to expand the right to unionize to all independent workers within the industries that they're in. There's a big conversation now on creating paid leave program for freelancers on a federal level. There are only about 5 states that have a paid leave program that exists. New York, Seattle, California I think Massachusetts is a few of them. We currently have about 500,000 people that have joined the union to date. So again, it's open to everyone. There is very little barrier to join, and we'd be more than happy to have your voice within our organization to help us direct, the work that we're doing and letting us know how we can be better serving freelancers across the country. So thank you all. It's a pleasure.
Thank you both for speaking today. It looks like we have some questions in the chat. But first want to read out some of these comments that were bigging up Rafael and Ajoke. The first being, as someone who worked on 1099s for the past 2 years, this is absolutely amazing. Someone else asking about accessing the slides. So hopefully we can get some access to the slides later. Someone called it inspirational. And the first question, can you speak to how you define and cultivate a shared definition of community wealth building with a racial equity lens? And this question is for both of you.
Yeah, I can take a stab at it. So I think Gilded's model of community wealth building is kind of black and white in terms of how we do it, and that's mostly through what we call patronage accounts, and those are the accounts where members get to share within the dividends of the cooperative, like within the profits. The issue becomes in, what if the racial disparities that are found on the social and economic level translate into who are the people who eventually decide to become members of Gilded? And we've been working, we don't have a plan yet, but initially when Gilded launched, we said that we're going to specifically focus on artists and artists of colors, because of course, within the entirety of the freelance sector, what you could say is this disparity between what people would call the gig economy and the talent economy. So people with highly specialized skills becoming freelancers and making a killing, and then people, quote unquote, highly specialized, and then people who are in other fields, artists of color, who don't have the access to whether that's the social strata to get them into the tiers where they can make more money, or the economic safety so that they can get more certifications in order to make more money, not having access, not seeing the same returns. And so we've been trying to be strategic in how we present Gilded and to whom, so that Black and brown folks are the folks that get to hear about it first and get to put their effort in, so that the people who get the rewards from Gilded growing, it does reflect that we have a focus on, more focus on achieving racial equity than if we were to just market blindly and just try and build skill for skills own purpose.
Yeah, I mean, I would just add that when we think about this question, we're looking at groups like Gilded, who are really doing this work and, creating these cooperative models and opportunities for independent workers, especially those in marginalized communities, to be part of a group to build that wealth and take control of their economic opportunities and create that economic democracy. I think we as an organization, what we've done most recently is one, as I mentioned earlier, we do have a freelancers hub, right? And the idea was to ensure that the freelancers hub, while it's online, while we currently offer online programming, it's also a free co-working space that's available to our membership. And what we learned over the years is that the ones making use of that space are, lower income workers who are trying to get the leg up and build successful careers. Two, when we look at the program that we're offering, we're looking at ways to offer programming that's going to help those folks get skill workforce training programs that's going to help build their career as well. So it's a matter of, for us, is giving them the tools to succeed, giving them the resources. I think a lot of, I think, even from my own experience, there's a lack of information on this that exists out there on how you can climb the economic ladder. So we feel like we have the responsibility on providing information, creating as little bars to access to that information. Another thing we've done recently as well is we notice internally that the majority of our membership that's active happens to be white females, right? We know that, but we also know that our membership is much more diverse than that. So what we did most recently is create a Black freelancers directory to highlight our Black freelancers and to ensure that anyone who comes to us looking to hire a freelancer, that we're highlighting that part of our membership that's providing great work that are there to make them more visible and give them access to those opportunities that exist.
Thank you both. It looks like the next question is from Nia, who asked, Rafael, how many members do you currently have?
Yeah, so we have about over 500,000 folks have at some point signed up with the union through the history of our organization. I think I can comfortably say that about 300,000 are actively engaged with us to date. And we see about 1,000 people a week just coming through our door, signing up, becoming part of our community.
And we have another question in the chat. What places or people do you rely on to get the data to support your approach you have taken? So this is a two-part question. How do you measure impact and that it is increasing access to Brown and Black folks first? Racial equity lens. So I'll repeat that. What places or people do you rely on to get the data to support your approach you have taken? And how do you measure impact and that it is increasing access to Black and Brown folks first? Racial equity lens.
Is this for both of us or?
Apologies. Yes, I think that's for both of you. Yep.
Okay, cool. So Gilded we're a little over a year old, so we're kind of new. The data that we're collecting is around when clients pay freelancers. So we have that through invoicing. What field are they in? We do collect demographics. We collect the demographics before we started to figure out where were the pain points for freelancers. And what we hope to do eventually as we grow our membership is to be able to correlate net income of freelancers of all different races and ethnicities before Gilded with after, and then also do a monthly track of what what the stability, like that graph of dips and highs in their income looks like, what it would be, what it is with Gilded and what it would have been without Gilded, because we know we'd be able to track when we were able to pay out when a client didn't, and then what that delay would have been. So that's one way that we know initially we really want to track the impact that Gilded's having. And then over time, we want to be able to correlate how the rates that freelancers are charging artists change before and after Gilded, and also over time by using Gilded and getting more exposure to the process, the platform, in addition, the resources that other artists would be providing through their anonymized contracts.
Yeah, I think for us, since we have been around for such a long time and have such a huge membership, all the information and feedback we receive is directly from our members. We do quarterly surveys. We do needs-based assessments. We do ask the questions that would help guide the direction we should be going in and what the needs of membership are and is. When I spoke earlier about the Freelancers and Free Act, that came from feedback from our membership who felt that they were constantly being exploited, who constantly felt they didn't have the protections they needed to ensure they get paid. And I think we know, looking at data as well, is that it's usually workers from more marginalized communities who end up getting stiffed at the end of the day, whether it be a domestic worker, who's collecting a few $100 for doing domestic work, that don't have the common protections in order to get paid on time. So we use that data from our membership. We use that feedback from our membership to help further kind of direct the direction that we should be advocating.
Thank you very much. Pausing to see if people are getting their thoughts together for any additional questions, feedback, reflections. Once again, someone put in the chat just some feedback. I've looked so hard for these kind of resources online. This was the stream of Freelancers Union resources and always come up blank. This is incredible. So definitely a lot of people will appreciate the resources they've learned about from both Gilded and Freelancers Union. And then I think this may end up being the last question. So we have super helpful. Thank you for this shared learning. Do any of you, so this is either one of you, work with chambers of commerce? And how do they support or challenge your model and efforts? It's a good question.
I've to this point have not had the opportunity to engage in conversation with the chambers of commerce. I mean, I think as an independent worker, you know, there are some similarities that you have with small businesses, especially when it comes to filing taxes and all those other things. But I have not had an opportunity, so I guess that's all I can offer now.
Yeah, I don't, but I think there's some other folks who've suggested like tapping into the business community, whether or not that's to connect with other freelancers or to help put policies that are useful. So that's all I have as well.
Mhm. Excellent. And finally, I think to close us out, Ajoke put links to both Gilded and Freelancers Union. So you can sign up at Gilded at www.gilded.coop. And you can sign up at freelancers at freelancersunion.org/register. And we will send out this recording in our email next week. So you'll be able to watch Ajoke's presentation again. And I believe we're going to get copies of the slides and we'll send that out next week as well. So this has been super educational, informational, and inspiring. As you all know, the Federation are good friends of Ujima. They did a cooperative work series with us last summer, and we learned about the Gilded effort. They were very excited about this effort, and we can see why. And it's a pleasure to have Freelancers Union in our spaces well. So as Rafael has said, Freelancers Union has been around for a long time. So definitely influential in the space. And it was an honor to have both of you here. Thank you so much. We will now turn off the recording for non-awkward goodbyes before we transition into our member team. So this is the opportunity. Oh, you got thanks, got lots of thanks in the chat, both of you. This is an opportunity if you